I'd like to call this meeting of the Carson City Historic Resources Commission for Thursday, May 13th, 2001 at the Robert Crowell Boardroom to order. Would you call the roll, Danielle?
Chairperson Drews. Vice Chair Schmitter.
Oops. Here.
Commissioner Block. Commissioner Hayes. Commissioner Darney.
Here.
Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Spielda.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Danielle. We'll open the meeting up to public comment. Members of the public are invited to address the commission at this time and comment on any matter that is relevant to or within the authority of the HRC, including any matter that's not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this public comment portion of the agenda unless the matter is already specifically included in the agenda as an item upon which the commission may take action later in the meeting. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to D for possible action. We have approval of the minutes from March 11th, 2021. Entertain a motion.
So moved, is
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item E, meeting items. E1, HRC 2021-0125 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors regarding a request for an historic tax deferment on property zone single-family 6,000 SF6 located at 310 Mountain Street, APN 003-191-02. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This request is due to a change of ownership. The HRC will typically review 4 items when considering these requests. 1 is the property listed in the Carson City Historic Survey. 2 is the property in good repair. 3 are alterations on the property compatible with the historic character of the district. And 4 is the property in compliance with the historic district guidelines. Staff has addressed each of these 4 items and found that they can all be found in the affirmative and recommends that the Historic Resource Commission recommend approval of this request to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Hope. Any commission member questions, comments?
No, I'm familiar with the property and I think it's in good condition. Looks good from the street anyway. So.
Any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I got it.
Aye.
I'll recommend a motion for approval of HRC 20210125. Let me find my place here. The request for a historic tax deferment on property zone single-family 6,000 SF6 located at 310 Mountain Street.
Rob, do you want to address the 1977 attached garage? It's on the recommendation summary.
Yes, this motion to exclude the 1977 detached garage based on the finding the request inconsistent with the design guidelines for historic district and the Secretary of the Interior standards as noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Ron. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. It was easy. Let's go ahead. The applicant for E2 is not here right now. Let's go ahead and move E4 up to the E2 slot, and we'll see if we can take care of that one now. So E4 HRC-2021-051 0151 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding a request to replace siding and replace windows on property zone residential office, RO, and located at 305 West King Street, APN 003-216-14. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Property owner J.R. Kinzel is present. The subject property is part of a grouping of one-story rectangular wood frame structures located on the 300 block of King Street. This is an important cohesive grouping of early buildings constructed between 1865 and the 1870s. The grouping is significant as the earliest builder development in Carson City. The applicant is proposing to remove the cement siding and either repair the existing wood siding or install new wood siding to match the original. That will depend on the condition of what he finds once he's removed the cement that's on the outside. The applicant is also proposing to replace the bay window to match the original size, as well as to replace the window on the eastern side of the building. Development Standards 5.15 addresses exterior siding, stating in part, the original exterior siding material shall be retained and repaired when at all possible. Consistent with the guidelines, the applicant is seeking to expose and restore the original siding. Should he find it cannot be repaired, he proposes to replace the siding to match the original. Development Standards 5.16 addresses the guidelines for windows, including, I quote, original windows shall be retained and repaired when at all possible. When replacement is necessary, a window of duplicated design shall be used. The size, pane, configuration, design, and trim shall replicate that of the original. Original trim and surrounds are to be retained when windows are replaced. I have on the screen a picture of the bay window at the subject property, and I have also included in the presentation the neighboring property at 301, which is Mr. Kipp's property, and Mr. Kipp's here tonight. I believe the windows at 301 are likely original, the original design. All of the houses, I think there's 4 houses on the 300 block of King, they all have this bay window. So in the case of 305 King Street, you can see that the structure for the bay window is there, but the windows have been changed out. So the applicant has also provided the specification, and that is included at your desk under late material. I believe it has a green cover on it. If you look at that, he's proposing to use the Anderson 400 series double hung. What he's advised me will be a wooden window painted white on the outside. So staff does find that the applicant is modifying the bay window to duplicate the original design, which is consistent with the guidelines. In terms of the east side window, that's not visible from off-site. So staff has not paid particular attention to that window because it's just, you can't see it once you're on the property. Staff does find that the replacement, the staff does not find that the replacement of the side window, and it's on the east side of the home, will compromise any character defining features of the home. And so with that, I believe this application complies with the design guidelines. And again, we do have public comment on this one, and the property owner, Mr. Kinzel, is present.
Thank you, Hope. Any commission member questions or comments, Hope, or Michelle?
So the side window, is there a picture of that?
I didn't put in the presentation. It may be in the packet.
Jay, I've got a quick question while they're looking. It looks like page 4 or something of your application, you've got the detail of the bay windows. Are you going with double hung on all 3, or are you going to use the case that's shown?
Use the mic. Turn it on. Hit that button. Now you can state your name.
My name is J.R. Kinzel, resident at and owner of 305 West King. Yeah, so we're looking at doing exactly what 301 is with the double. Those are single hung. The 400 is a double hung window, virtually acting the same.
Okay, Yeah, so this cut sheet's just, was in there to give us an idea. but
Yeah, that
it's
was
not.
exactly to give an idea of a wind window and the
Right.
9 light.
All right, so the late material shows the Anderson 400s and go with the double hung. Great.
So I have a question. On the 301 house, they're 6/6, not 9/9. Are you,
You're right. I didn't realize that. What did I submit in the Anderson window?
9/9?
9.
It is 9/9, isn't it? I think I can get it to, what I'm trying to do is exactly that.
Okay, I think 6/6 would be more appropriate.
Yes.
9/9 would
That's
be
what I'm
kind
trying to
of-
do. Yeah, it's not the 9/9. I chose that accidentally.
Okay.
I'm trying to match that exact 6/6. Good question.
No, that's great, because I was confused about this and then the 9 lights. So, okay, so we're going with 6/6, all 3 on that bay. Okay, but we don't know what's happening on the side. Or what are you proposing to put on the side that we're not so worried about, but I would just like to know?
So on the side, it's they're aluminum, single pane, cracked glass. And we're gonna match the look with the 6/6, and just plug it into that same hole. Wood interior, painted exterior white. It's gonna be the same look, but it's not gonna be, it's gonna go into that existing hole that is right there, right now.
Okay.
So it'll be a Series 400 Anderson 6/6 that just fits that.
Yes,
base.
yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea what the original siding is? Is it the same lap?
The original siding is shiplap, 1x10 shiplap.
Okay.
Do you think that those coins are still under there? Have you opened up an end?
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
When we do the work, the concept is to match. That corner, that style.
Okay.
And I don't think it'd be very difficult to do that either.
They're very cute houses, so I'm really happy that you're taking this on. It's a big project.
I recognize you. You came by the property a couple times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other commission member questions or comments, Michelle?
Did you stated something about finding the green color from Rob's building? Do you need the name of it, the paint?
I do, and we were wondering that, but I knew I would be able to find that color, because I'm sure it went through this board. But yeah, that would be helpful. We do like that. We've walked the whole neighborhood looking for a green, and that's our favorite one. Right? Right, exactly. I'm sure they did. Okay.
Yeah, whether or not they actually use that same color, you'll be able to get at least a chip to compare it,
Perfect.
so.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That'd be great. Thank you for that suggestion.
Any other commission member questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this item?
We're all friendly here.
I've been in the community for, is that acceptable? No, that? Okay. Is this a mask on or mask off, or does it matter? I'll kick this goofy thing off. Thanks, Dr. Fauci. So, here's my thought. I have 3 parcels in the historic district. That's a fairly unique area. They're classic row houses from San Francisco. I think the application, I don't come here very often except for on my own regard, is the right thing to do. First, and I want to applaud this committee here. I mean, this is volunteer time. And I've been very fortunate over the years to have my own office approved, both my original remodifications of my property on the 111 South Division Street, and a lot more flexibility with this commission than I did with the building department on my new building on the corner of Fifth Street and Division. But I love the historic district, and what's going on or asking, I think, is a very positive thing for the district. And I hope that one of these days I might be able to approach it on another property I own very close to this, going back to the original siding rather than stucco. So I'm here just because, not that I don't have anything else to do, but I don't know the owner, but I really support it because I went through the same process on 2 or 3 properties in this area. So I wish you well. I think if we can continue to do that, and this just, it'll continue to make it a wonderful location and a very support for our area right here. So I'm certainly not in opposition. As I said, usually if I approve, I don't show up, but I wanted to support this project. You bet. And thank you all that have served over the years in this commission. I think you've done wonderful things for our little community. Thank you.
Thank you, and your properties look great too. Any other public comment? Come on up, Ron.
My name is Ron Kipp. I own 301 West King. My wife and I own it. Our oldest daughter lives in it. She's the historical nut in the family, and she allows me to come over every weekend I want to and do repair work on the house and do things for her. I really support this gentleman's efforts and what he's trying to do. Just the work I've seen that they've done so far. My grandfather had me sitting on the garage floor with a hammer, straightening bent nails when I was a little kid. He taught me woodworking, all with hand tools. And I've been a woodworker every chance I've had in my life, and I don't hold a candle to the work they've done. So this is going to be a really good project, and I'm here to support it.
Thank you, Ron.
Very nice. Yeah.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve HRC 2021-0151 based on the finding that the request is consistent with the design guidelines for the historic district and the Secretary of Interior standards as noted in the staff report.
Mr. Chair, are we adding a condition that all 3 windows that comprise the bay window will be 6/6?
With the
Yeah,
condition that the windows are going to be 6/6 to match the one at the corner.
Can we get a submission, a complete packet back to you guys for the file? And we've got like 3 different designs now.
Oh, no, I understand. The late material will supersede what was originally submitted, and it will be marked as late material in the file, so it'll be clear. And what we can even say, if you'd like, is that you could add a condition that the windows will be the Anderson 400 series that was presented at the HRC meeting of May 13th, 2021.
But-
And that way, the record's really clear.
But there's still 9. We don't have anything.
No, we're
that's
just
set.
saying the 400 series, double hung, but we're going to say they have to be 6/6.
Okay.
So I'll just restate that for the benefit of the record. So I believe the added condition will state that all 3 windows that comprise the bay window will be 6/6, and the applicant will utilize the Anderson 400 series double hung windows as presented to the Historic Resource Commission.
Okay, so that's another condition. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, any question? Any other questions on the motion? I'll entertain or all in favor?
Aye.
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 Rob.
Second.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Jay. Good luck. Sure it's gonna look great. Next item is E3, HRC 2021-0095 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding a request for a new door and a covered porch on property zone single-family 6,000 SF6 located at 612 West Telegraph Street, APN 003-245-04. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located on the northeast corner of Elizabeth and West Telegraph Street with the front door on on Telegraph Street. Per the tax assessor, the home was constructed in 1941. The applicant has replaced a window, so the photograph you see is with a window. That window's been replaced with French doors without the commission's approval, so the applicant is now seeking that approval. The applicant is also seeking to construct an 18-foot, 8-inch by 10-foot covered deck on the west side of the home. And you have the plans in your packet. I've only included the elevation in the presentation, but this reflects what's already in your packet. The deck will be accessed via the new door. Per the supplemental information provided, the deck will be wood and the French doors are vinyl. Development Standards 5.17 provide guidelines for doors, stating the addition of the new door may be warranted for a building to properly function in a modern use. When new doors are to be installed, a contemporary design which is sympathetic and harmonious with the original doors shall be used. The placement of the new opening shall not disrupt the original design of the building. The proposed door meets these guidelines. It is necessary to allow the proper function of the building, i.e. access to the deck. It's going to replace the window, and I'll go back to the picture. It's going to replace the window, and it's located on a secondary elevation as opposed to the primary elevation. Therefore, it does not disrupt the original design of the house. Development Standards 5.19 provide guidelines for porches, stating if a porch cannot be demonstrated to have originally existed on the building, a porch may be added with the condition that the configuration, design, style, and detailing are suitable and compatible with the architectural style of the building and does not adversely impact the historic integrity of the building. Any new additions to the building shall be performed in such a manner that if removed in the future, the original building would not be adversely affected. There's not evidence that I could find that there was originally a porch on the subject property. The applicant's proposing to use wood materials and composite shingle roofing that will match the rest of the home. The added deck will not block the existing fenestration or details, therefore will not adversely impact the historic integrity of the building. June Joplin, the property owner, is present, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Hope. Commission member questions, comments?
I had, oh, go ahead.
How is the roof going to be attached to the house? Are you gonna? Is there?
I'm supposed to know that? I provided that, okay.
Welcome to Stump the Owner. You want to introduce yourself for the record, Jim?
Oh, I'm June Joplin, and this is my dad who's with me, who's visiting, and he had me straighten nails when I was a little girl, too. So-
Well done.
Even not that long ago, I think I was straightening nails.
This is kind of maybe off topic a little bit, but are you comfortable with the date of 1941 for that house, or do you think it's older?
It's older than that. I think 1941 was probably the last add-on. It's like, what part of history do we want to match in this house? Because it's kind of a collage.
Yeah.
I think originally the whole property, the whole block, there was a main house, and my house was like a little carriage house that's just been continued to be added onto. So that's my understanding.
Yeah.
So I think 1941 was when the last addition or was completed.
Yeah, that's what, it seems like it would be older, but the porch is on a side elevation, and it's already been, the windows above it have already been changed, so I think it's, they're
Yeah.
not going to be.
I didn't know that it was, I guess I had COVID brain. I don't know. I bought the house from my landlords for the end of 19, and then COVID hit, and anyway, and my dad wanted me to, because the windows were broken and rotted and had done water damage into the thing, so he just wanted to, he
Yeah.
paid for it. Like, let's get those doors in. I was like, yes, okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I didn't think about all of that.
Well, going back to what Luann said, I mean, it's definitely interesting because you have different windows, and I think that the siding, the cedar siding, by the way, if you need to know where you can get more of that, let me know.
Okay, you have some?
Well, you can order it from this Miller
Oh, really?
siding, or Miller, whatever. It's a mill in Washington, because I have the same material in my house.
Okay, that's
That was
great.
added in
That's
the
great to know.
50s, but it's a secondary elevation. Well, that's been modified, and it's definitely going to make the property more usable, like you said. I don't have a problem.
Rob?
I'll add to that if I can. I agree with that completely. Anything to get rid of that AC unit that was on the ground there, poking through the window.
Yeah, it had an old swamp cooler
I
in that
think the
window.
addition, I mean, it's a simple building, simple, there's no fenestrations, it's all very simple. And I think your ideas with the porch mimic that. The porch roof, I think balances out that elevation with the little shed on the right, as far as its massing, and I think it'll be fine. Looks good.
Thank you.
And by the way, I appreciate you turning in some very nicely detailed drawings.
Thank you.
Somewhat rare.
Thank you. So this was kind of fun. If I didn't have to work 12 hours a day, I'd like to do this. It was fun. No, it was fun.
Yeah, I think it looks great, Gina.
Thank you.
It's gonna help that side a lot. It'll brighten
Isn't it
up, too, so.
just this hideous flat wall on the
Yeah.
most beautiful, with the side with the view, so I'm very excited.
Is there any public comment on this?
Mm-mm.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Whose turn is it?
I move to approve HRC 2021-0095 based on the finding that the request is consistent with the design guidelines for the Historic District and the Secretary of Interior Standards as noted in the staff report for the new porch and door and roof.
Thank you.
Motion, do I have a second?
I second the
Motion
motion.
is second. Any question? All in favor?
Aye?
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's it? All right, thank you.
Okay, next item, we'll move back to E2, HRC 2021-0102 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the relocation of a shed from property zoned single-family 6,000 SF6 located at 702 West Musser Street, APN 003-192-17 to neighboring property zone single-family 6,000 SF6 and located at 216 Elizabeth Street, APN 003-192-15. Oh,
NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose a conflict of interest and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. I live across the street from 702 West Musser, one of the properties involved in this agenda items. item. While I make this disclosure, NRS 281A.420 requires abstention only in clear cases. The movement of the shed will not affect me differently from any other similarly situated person. I do not have any involvement in the project, and I do not believe that my judgment is materially affected. Therefore, I do not have a disqualifying conflict and will be voting on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, as the chair said, this is a request to relocate a 10-foot by 16-foot shed from 702 West Mustard to 216 Elizabeth Street. I have kind of an unusual photograph up on the screen, but I wanted to show what we're looking at. You have a garage with the shed immediately behind the garage. It's off of Elizabeth Street, which almost feels like the entrance to a parking lot for the health center. And what you can hopefully see pretty well in the foreground is a solid fence that's not on the property line. And so when that shed is shifted over to the neighboring property, it will still be on the same side as that fence. And I think that's kind of important because when you're in the field, the fence feels like it's the delineation between the two properties, but it actually is not the delineation, it's offset. So with that, per the National Register nomination for the West Side Historic District, the home, the garage, and the outbuilding at 702 Musser Street are considered contributing buildings to the district. The local guidelines do not give us guidance on how to treat when we move a building. However, the Secretary of Interior standards state the historic character of property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alterations of features, spaces, or spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. As currently configured, the shed is immediately behind the garage and not visible from off-site. Slightly visible if you go into the parking lot of the health center. The staff finds that shifting the building 35 feet will allow for maintenance of both the garage and the shed building and allow for functionality of both of these buildings. So although the spatial relationship will be modified, staff finds it substantially consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards, and I'll leave it at that. The applicant is out of town and was not able to attend this evening. He is available by phone call if we do have questions for him. But this is an interesting one because we keep advocating to protect buildings by moving them, and here's a situation where the applicant is willing to move the building to protect it.
Thank you, Hope. And I think it's important to recognize too that we're not moving it to a different property. We're just kind of rearranging it. And I mean, I did have an opportunity to walk around with Mr. Barkowski and look at the property. The shed in back is obviously the oldest shed. The one in front was built after that sometime, probably in the late 30s, early 40s. So it's kind of obscuring the old one. I think we're keeping it on the same property. It still is both sheds or garage and shed are contributing elements still to that property. So I think Hope's right. It meets Secretary standards just fine and doesn't really affect the district. Commissioner member, questions, comments?
I just drove by, I didn't walk onto the property, but I drove by, took a look, what I could see. I'm not too sure that both these buildings were built there. I think one was moved to there. So consistent with other people who have had the same move the shed kind of thing, that we need to be consistent, that's what we've asked people to do if they don't want to keep it, to find a place in the neighborhood, first and foremost the historic district, second, find somewhere where it can be saved. And this is about as good as it gets when you're only moving it, 20 feet. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think in Carson City, and maybe Western Nevada in particular, buildings were moved all the time, shifted around on lots and moved to Virginia City and Virginia City down to here. And so just by its nature of being moved doesn't mean it's disqualified. And since it is on the same property and will be used in the same manner, I think it's all a good solution.
Joe?
I concur.
I also want to point out that both of these buildings are, I think the garage in front sits on a little bit of a footing. The shed in back doesn't. And
The garage has a concrete floor.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I just think it's great that the applicant wants to fix these things up, raise them up, put new sills under there, get some structural support and try to maintain them. I think we'll get a lot more life out of them by doing that. We spent a lot of time talking about little sheds and how they can't be moved or can't be saved. And here's a case where you can do it if you want. So, any other commission member questions, comments?
We need to videotape it being moved so we can show other applicants.
It would be really interesting. I mean, if I have time, I wouldn't mind going over and doing that. It'd just be good to document this process so people can see that, yeah, it can be done and it can be done relatively easily. Or I hope. Any other commission member questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll propose a motion for approval of the file number HRC 2021-0102, a request to relocate the existing garage, the rear garage, located at 702 West Mustard Street, zone single-family 6,000 SF6. Located at, we're moving it to 216 Elizabeth Street, is that correct? Yes. The project involves relocating a 10-foot by 16-foot shed from the to the neighboring property. Per the National Registered Nomination West Side Historic District, the shed was constructed circa 1920 and is a contributing building. Anything else?
A motion, do I have a second?
Second?
Any questions? Just for clarification, the property owner owns both of those parcels, which is why the fence is offset like that. So even though it's going to to the address on Elizabeth Street, it's staying on the Musser Street side of the fence on his property. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Brings us to E5, HRC 2021-0065 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding a review of Carson City Municipal Code, Section 18-06-085, avoiding demolition through owner neglect, NCCMC 18.06.090, minimum maintenance for historic properties and the status of structures in the district. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The commission had asked that this be a standing item on your agenda. At your last meeting, you had identified a property on Robertson Street and asked that staff look at that property vis-a-vis these sections of the municipal code. I did refer that property to our code enforcement team, who did go out and look at it. They did not find that the building had issues that were enough to cite based on these code provisions. However, they did cite based on weeds and other things. So they are pursuing code enforcement. If there are other properties in the district that you feel like need to be looked at vis-a-vis these code sections, the staff can go ahead and give that to code enforcement.
Commission members?
What is the process then when code enforcement goes out to a property? Do they get cited or is there a fine?
First, we always try to work cooperatively and not go with a punitive response initially. And so code enforcement's gone out, they'll alert the property owner to what they've observed, advise what the code requirements are, and they'll request compliance and give the applicant an opportunity for compliance. and work with the applicant to identify a reasonable time frame for that. If there's not compliance, then we need to start pursuing it more formally. But we start with sort of an informal request in education.
It looks like both of the ordinances relate to structural deficiencies rather than landscaping and general appearance. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and maybe it's something we want to talk about in the future too, that in the district, we need to bring in a landscape element. This brings to mind the Brewery Arts Center, because we noted in that discussion that by closing those louvers, they've prohibited air circulation, and we may be working towards structural deterioration now because of that. So it may be something to make them aware of too, that we need to look, they need to get on with that. Any other commission member questions or comments about that? This is we can keep it on as a continuing item, I guess, if we want. But, why don't we keep it on just because we're missing a few board members today, and I think they'd probably like to continue it. Next item is staff reports, discussion only. Hope.
Okay, since your last meeting, there's been 3 administrative approvals. One was for a re-roof. One was, actually, it's kind of that multifamily property I can't get on, 503 North Nevada. I can picture it. I don't know how to describe it, but it was a re-roof and lighting. Looks like they're gonna do a lot of work. Remember that one?
Mhm.
And, the Curry House is getting a new front door. So those have all been administrative approvals.
Where's the door going?
In the same place as the old one, and the transom window stain.
Yeah, the new door is much more in keeping with the historic photograph than.
The old door was the window.
So I've been a planner both in California and Nevada for the last almost 18 years. And I've had the pleasure of working with Hope for 6, 7. We started in Douglas together.
And Heather has a really strong background in land preservation and working with farmland protection and agricultural protection. So I think this transition is going to work really well. She'll pick up the language really very quickly.
So we need to be nice.
You're always nice, right?
Well, welcome. And if you have any questions when you're working through things, feel free to email us or ask questions. So.
Yeah, I just want to say congrats to both of you for the move up, and just let you know, Hope, that now you've moved up to being on my speed dial. So, yeah.
Lastly, I just want to mention, you have late material at your seat. It's in the yellow paper, so it didn't get confused with the stuff under the green paper, which was associated with an application. The late material under the yellow paper is various newspaper clippings from Jed Block. So he sent those to me for the commission, so I haven't had a chance to read through them all. They just came in today. But hopefully, I'm sure there's some interesting reading in there. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Hope. I guess I've just outlived 4 planners and 3 planning directors. Commission member reports or comments? KOLO News last week had a piece on the scavenger hunt. It looks like it's really been well received. I've seen a lot of people walking around the district with papers in their hands, so that's good. We also brought up the website and things like that, so that's looking good. Tomorrow, Outdoor Nevada, the PBS outdoor series from Las Vegas, is Actually, I think they're doing some stuff up at Kings Canyon. They're going out to the V&T grade and doing the rail bikes and history on the V&T too. So we're getting some good press. And I know KOLO was looking at the new blue line or the Kit Carson Trail as well. So the district is prominent in the news lately. Future agenda items? Let's keep the demolition by neglect on there, I guess, and see what happens. Any other commission or items?
And the qualification standards, maybe we could put that in the packet, so
Oh, that's a great idea, and I did send that to
the property
Mr.
owner.
I can't think of his name, the man with the shed. I did send those. Thank you for sending those,
Yeah,
and I will put those in the packet.
thanks.
Okay, any other agenda items? Next meeting is scheduled for 5:30 on Thursday, July 8th, 2021. We should check, make sure we have a quorum on that, Heather, because I know Lou and I will be gone. And it'll be your meeting, Michelle. Good luck. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second?
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We're unanimously adjourned.